Elisabeth Fritzl, the story of the girl in the basement. The Fritzl case came into the limelight in the year 2008 when a lady named Elisabeth Fritzl told Austrian police officials that she had been held captive for 24 years by her father, Joseph Fritzl. Joseph used to assault, abuse her sexually, and even raped her many times when she was held captive in a concealed area in the basement of their family home. Elisabeth Fritzl was born in Austria in the year 1966 to Joseph Fritzl and Rosemarie. She had 6 siblings to 3 brothers and 3 sisters. Her father used to abuse her when she was just 11 years old in 1977. After completion of her schooling, Elisabeth started preparing to become a waitress when she turned 15. She then ran away from her home in 1983 and went into hiding along with her friend in Vienna. Police found her within 20 days and returned her back to her parents. She later rejoined her waitress course and completed the same to get a job in the nearby city. In the year 1984, Joseph Fritzl called Elisabeth to assist him in refitting a door in the basement of their home in Austria. Elisabeth, unaware of his intentions and how life will turn after this event, went down the stairs to help her father. When she was about to leave the place, she was held over by a small cloth piece soaked in ether over her mouth and nose. Elisabeth had no clue whatsoever that she was indeed helping her own father's plan to lock her up as a sex slave. Joseph Fritzl was planning to build an underground prison cell for years and received official permission from the municipal authorities as well much earlier, in the late 1970s. It was pretty normal in those days of the Cold War to build nuclear bunkers in the basement of the house, so getting permission was not difficult for Joseph. In fact, Joseph was provided a grant of £2,000 by the local council towards the building costs. There were a series of doors that needs to be opened before reaching the cellar, where he planned to keep Elisabeth captive. Elisabeth had to go through hell for the next 24 years as the horror unleashed upon her was never-ending. She was at times forced to catch rats with her bare hands. Summer was the worst time of the year for her because of intolerable sweat, which she narrated later in her writings. For the rest of the world, life was moving while Elisabeth's life was still and stagnant. Initially, her father tied her up with an iron chain in such a way that she could barely move half a meter on either side of the bed. He then gave her more freedom to move by attaching the chain around her waist. As the chain was causing trouble during sexual activity, he has removed it after a few months. Joseph abused her sexually and used to rape her multiple times a day for many years until she was released in April 2008. He raped her at least 3,000 times in those 25 years, which resulted in 7 babies. Elisabeth's children had to witness her abuse as they grew older. 3 of her kids were with her in the basement, and the other 3 children appeared mysteriously near the doorstep of Joseph Fritzl and his wife, Rosemarie, as per his planning. Fritzl used to dictate letters to Elisabeth that she was well but could not look after the kids. He would then drive miles to post them back to his wife Rosemarie. Elisabeth was completely broken inside, but she tried to console herself that at least her 3 kids are having a better life than those languishing downstairs. Joseph used to beat and kick her repeatedly. He used to force Elisabeth to reenact scenes from violent pornographic films. This has left Elisabeth not only with physical injuries, but also caused psychological damage. She had spent the initial 5 years all alone. One of her children died prematurely just after his birth in the cellar in 1996. The child was facing difficulty in breathing and died in her arms when he was barely 3 days old. Joseph later admitted that he burned the child's body in an incinerator. Fritzl tried to defend himself during the trial, saying that Elisabeth's behavior was difficult to predict, and in order to protect her from the outside world, he locked her up. His lawyer tried to portray Joseph as a caring and devoted father who spent time and money maintaining both of his families. When the babies started to come, it was really a horror for her. She tried to commit suicide, but looking at her kids, she had a purpose to live after many years of being alone. She gave birth to all babies without seeking any medical help for almost 12 years. Joseph provided her with disinfectant, a dirty pair of scissors, and a book on childbirth. Fritzl has threatened to kill Elisabeth and her children if they tried to escape. The indictment order released by the court said, He told them he had installed a system so that the doors would give them electric shocks if they tried to open them, and that poison would be released into the cellar if they tried to escape, killing them all instantly. Joseph Fritzl used to turn off the power supply to the basement for days so that Elisabeth was left alone in complete darkness. Her painful story came to an end when Kirsten, her 19-year-old daughter, needed urgent hospitalization. Joseph Fritzl, who has never shown any mercy earlier, drove her to the hospital in his car. The doctors who were attending Kirsten became deeply suspicious looking at her condition. Doctors later alerted police officials about the whole incident. There was an appeal in the media, which was broadcasted repeatedly, for the mother to come forward with the necessary information if they want to save her life. She, along with her two boys, saw the appeals on the television in their basement. She then requested her father to let her go. Joseph Fritzl, who was growing old, saw his powers waning and was finding it difficult to maintain both families. He started to hatch a plan as to how he could get rid of all this without too many questions being asked. For the first time in 24 years, he relented. He told some stories to the hospital staff. However, both police officials and doctors refused to believe in his story. When Elisabeth was in hospital, she was taken to a separate room away from her father by police officials, and they intimidated her to charge with child abuse case because of sheer negligence towards her daughter. Elisabeth then told police officials that she will reveal everything to them on the condition that she would never have to set eyes on her father again. Elisabeth first saw sunlight after 24 years of being held captive by her father, when she visited the hospital as one of her children needed urgent treatment. She was immediately led by her father back to the basement, which triggered suspicion in one of the hospital staff, who alerted police. She was rescued by police officials and they shifted her immediately to the state care center. Elisabeth was given therapy in a nearby village in northern Austria. Psychologists who have examined her suggested that she should be given lifelong therapy because of the piled-up trauma which she has suffered for years. Elisabeth is now said to be living in a bright home along with her kids, so that there is little chance of being reminded of the past. Even though Elisabeth is now in her 50s, the latest picture of her was taken more than 35 years ago, when she was just 16. Officials have given their best to keep her identity secret from the glare of the public in anticipation of giving her the normal life after the atrocities unleashed upon her. Elisabeth was then given a new name and identity. She presently lives in an Austrian village referred to as Village X to keep her location anonymous. Elisabeth lives with her children, whose ages now range from 19 to 33. A couple of her children had a difficult time recovering as they have experienced great anxiety and are prone to panic attacks. They were kept on a strict diet plan, regular exercise, and mood-altering drugs to get back to their normal lifestyle. They keep their bedroom doors permanently open while asleep. Security guards are on alert always and keep patrolling the two-story home, which is under the surveillance of CCTV cameras. There is very little information about her post-imprisonment life available in the public domain. Elisabeth had a strained relationship with her mother Rosemarie initially, but later it became smooth and they got close to each other, as per news publication Major The Independent. Her father Joseph Fritzl is in Garsten Abbey prison and is suffering from dementia. Joseph Fritzl changed his name to Joseph Mehrhoff as he did not want to reveal his identity in his final days.